Could this be the answer to 9/11? Just asking.
A new world order.
I think the answer is 1776, not 1984. In Orwell's novel, he pictures the state as having the supreme power by limiting free thought. This is accomplished by indoctrinating the population with a philosophy that attacks our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. In his novel, War is Peace. We are in over 150 countries and currently fighting on two fronts that we know of, but we are at peace with no declared war since World War II. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution says Congress is the only branch of government vested with the power to declare war, and the current War Powers Act application is and has been in violation of the United States Constitution. So war is indeed peace in today's world. Orwell goes on, freedom is slavery. They tell us that it is a democracy we live in and we are free to speak our minds. Yet we have the Patriot Act, TSA, Homeland Security, and most recently the CIA telling us before it happened that the president of Egypt, Mubarak, would resign. He does not resign, and the next day he is in a coma and no one knows where he's at. We have Janet Napolitano on the Orwellian telescreens in the largest retail chain store in the world,
Walmart
saying,
helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local
"Can you
police.
say brown shirt?"
If you need help, ask a Walmart manager.
Southwest Airlines' motto is, "You are free to move about the country." But are you? In order to board a plane, you are required to run the gauntlet, subjecting yourself to personal assault by people without police power. They want to x-ray us every time we board a plane. When you go into the dentist, you are covered with a lead plate, and the dentist or assistant runs out of the room before taking the picture. We know that x-rays have a cumulative effect. Get the picture? Freedom is slavery. Another Orwell axiom is ignorance is strength. Yes, the population is kept ignorant and dumbed down by the so-called higher education and the news media. Freedom of speech has a flicker of hope by way of talk radio, but even Michael Savage and Rush Limbaugh have been compromised. They refuse to consider factual evidence that requires answers not included in the 9/11 Commission report. Michael Savage's reply to a 9/11 question was, "I won't go there." The shining light in this talk show battle is Alex Jones. Former President Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, but Orwell warned us about the government-media complex, known in his novel as the Ministry of Truth, where ignorance becomes strength. In Orwell's novel, today's New World Order was known as Big Brother. The New World Order's job is to keep us in the dark and not talk about anything of substance, but have us focus on meaningless things. Ask anyone who won the Super Bowl or who are the finalists on America's Got Talent, and 9 out of 10 will know. Ask the same people what year was the United States Constitution written and what year the ratification process was completed, and I think you will also get 9 out of 10. Guess which way? Yes, ignorance is strength to the New World Order and Big Brother. Another favorite of Orwell's was Newspeak. Our 1776 Declaration of Independence was clear in its language, and the Constitution is also clear in its language. Ambiguity has crept in by using Orwell's Newspeak language of restricting free speech by castrating our vocabulary. Any misunderstanding in the meanings of the Constitution can be cleared up by reading of the Federalist Papers, not judge-made law using Newspeak as their guiding principle. All one needs to do is look at the young minds full of much texting and encouraged by the government media complex to shorten and eliminate words. This is one of the objectives of 1984 Newspeak. That also fits in with the New World Order plan. Now let us take a look at another Orwellian principle, Doublethink. This Orwellian view looks at an event or situation that is false and proven to be false, but simultaneously believes it is true. The Bush administration wanted a report from the intelligence agency linking Saddam Hussein to 9/11. Later, a congressional investigation disclosed that the report yielded no linkage, but the administration gave the thumbs up to the report and claimed the intelligence report was support for the invasion of Iraq. The report did not support the administration's position on Iraq linkage or weapons of mass destruction, but the administration claimed it did support the position for the invasion, a perfect example of doublethink. President Bush also claimed that he saw the first strike on World Trade Center 1 live while waiting to go into the classroom in Florida. We know that the crash was not shown live, so how could he have seen it waiting to go into the classroom? Bush also said in a press conference when asked about the motives behind 9/11 attack.
I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings on such a massive scale.
But that turns out not to be true. U.S. military planners did envision and practice those very scenarios. As reported by USA Today, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, conducted exercises with fighter jets, simulating hijacked planes flown into the World Trade Center in the 2 years before the attack.
Lee Hamilton questioned Norman Mineta about the shoot-down orders, and Mineta's comments while with Cheney overheard a conversation between Cheney and the military man monitoring Flight 77. The exchange was
on the Presidential Emergency Operating Center. You were there for a good part of the day. I think you were there with the Vice President. And we had that order given, I think it was by the President, that authorized the shooting down of commercial aircraft that were suspected to be controlled by terrorists. Were you there when that order was given?
No, I was not. I was made aware of it during the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon. There was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Well, at the time I didn't know what all that meant. And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And so I was not aware that that discussion had already taken place. And but in listening to the conversation between the young man and the Vice President, then at the time I didn't really recognize the significance of that. And then later I heard of the fact that the airplanes had been scrambled from Langley to come up to DC, but those planes were still about 10 minutes away. And so then at the time we heard about the airplane that went into Pennsylvania, then I thought, oh my God, did we shoot it down? And then we had to, with the Vice President, go through the Pentagon to check that out.
Let me see if I understand. The plane that was headed toward the Pentagon and was some miles away, there was an order to shoot that plane down.
Well, I don't know that specifically, but I do know that the airplanes were scrambled from Langley or from Norfolk, the Norfolk area, and but I did not know about the order specifically, other than listening to that other conversation.
But there very clearly was an order to shoot commercial aircraft.
Subsequently, I found that out.
With respect to Flight 93, What type of information were you and the Vice President receiving about that flight?
The only information we had at that point was when it went into when it crashed.
I see. You didn't know beforehand about that airplane.
Did not.
And so there was no specific order there to shoot that plane down.
No, sir.
But there were military planes in the air in position to shoot down commercial aircraft.
That's right. The planes had been scrambled, I believe, from Otis at that point.
Mineta said the conversation led him to believe that they had shoot-down orders. Then why wasn't Flight 77 shot down? Are Bush and Mineta lying? Or is it a case of doublethink? Just asking. In Orwell's upside-down world, history can be changed by the Ministry of Truth. Using a combination of doublethink, newspeak, ignorance is strength, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and the telescreen. What is true and factual today may be changed tomorrow. This is demonstrated in the manner in which wars are waged. Orwell's world is divided into three nation-states.
For future generations, a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
And now let us visit the Ministry of Truth. Two nations are always at war with one. No one can win, and they often change sides. When this happens, the main character in the 1984 novel is a revisionist historian. When they change sides, his job is to change history and start with a clean sheet of paper. Old relationships and alliances disappear as if they never happened. Saddam Hussein was our man before Gulf War I. For example, Saddam Hussein talked to April Gillespie, an American ambassador in Baghdad, on July 25, 1990, about his border dispute with Kuwait. Her reply was, "We have no opinion on the Arab conflicts like your border dispute with Kuwait." So he assumed he had the green light. The result was Gulf War I. Saddam was our man before then, and then became one of the evil persons partially responsible for 9/11, in addition to having weapons of mass destruction. It was later disclosed in both cases that this was not true. We are still in Iraq and Afghanistan 10 years later. Bin Laden was our guy along with the Mujahideen during the Russian venture into Afghanistan, but later he engineered the 9/11 attack from a cave in Afghanistan. History changes again. Now we learn that his number two man, al-Awlaki, had a meeting in the Pentagon 3 months after 9/11. Additionally, it is now known that he was the handler for the Panty Bomber, Shoe Bomber, and Times Square Bomber, and is now the number one man replacing bin Laden, who has been MIA for 9 years. Mubarak was our guy for 30 years, and now he must go and history must be erased again. Yes, Alice, you are living in Wonderland, 1984 style.